Right, so before we start this video, we're just gonna pretend like this hot mess behind me just doesn't exist, right? Cool, good talk. Hey friends, it is Sam from DIY Huntress, and I am so stoked for today's video. I just love collaborating with creative friends. So when my amazing friend Danie from DIY Danie reached out about collaborating this year, I was so excited. If you don't know Danie, you have to check her out because she is literally one of the most creative people I have ever met. She's so awesome. Her style is amazing. Her energy is contagious. I love her so much. So please, please, please go check out her channel. She has been a huge source of inspiration to me this year. Where was I before my Danie Love Fest? Oh, okay, so a few months ago, Danie and her friend Letitia did this awesome collaboration where they found items that they had laying around their homes. They boxed those items up, they swapped those boxes, and then they created really cool new things using those items. So recently, Danie reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in doing the same sort of like box swap thrift flip challenge thing. And I was like, heck yeah, but I also was like, oh man, Danie is totally gonna crush it, and I'm probably gonna make something super lame with whatever it is that she sends me. However, I am currently smack in the middle of a huge shed shop renovation, which means that I am paring down on a ton of stuff in my workshop, which also means that I also have a ton of stuff that I can send to Danie to make cool things with. Now, just like I'll be sending Danie a box full of stuff to make things with, she'll be sending me a box as well. So definitely go head on over to her channel and check out her video to see what she makes with all of the items that I sent her. That being said, why don't we go dig through some of my workshop drawers because they're definitely filled with junk that I can send to Danie. Wish me luck? No, wish Danie luck, actually. Let's get started. Okay, T, you ready to pick out some stuff for Danie? Yeah? Come on. As you can see, I am paring down on a lot of stuff. I promise I'm usually not this much of like a hot medium mess. For now, it's in the perfect state to find some stuff to send to Danie. Even though I don't want you to judge me by my workshop, you can definitely judge me by this junk drawer we're gonna start with, because like, woof. Okay, where do we even begin? All right, maybe I'll set this down and we can dig through this together. Okay, right away, there are 3 things I see that would be fantastic to send to Danie. And the funniest part is I don't know if I have all 4 of them because it's supposed to come as a set of 4, but I bought these for a furniture project and never used them. Let's see. Hi, handsome. Can you find all 4 of these? All right, 1, 2, 3. I legitimately don't know if I have number 4. If Mary Poppins' bag was a drawer in a toolbox, it would like 100% be this drawer because I don't know what's in here. This actually might be awesome to send to her, so we're gonna hang on to that, but that's not what I'm looking for right now. Sam, stay focused. Ah! 4! Okay, Danie, you're getting 4. You're welcome. Okay, so digging through this drawer, there are 2 more things. Part of me wants to send Danie the one that I hate the most. But basically your options are going to be this sweet 16 chic roll of vinyl paper. I think this came with my Cricut cutter. Or this adhesive corkboard, which I used for my resin ocean coasters that I had on my channel a couple months ago. So to keep Danie as a friend or to lose Danie as a friend, that is the question. Danie, you're lucky that I like you because I'm gonna send you the corkboard. Okay, we're just gonna pack this all in there and nothing to see here, people. Moving on. Okay, so we have bun feet, we have corkboard, we have Atlas. Just kidding, you can't go to Canada, you have to stay here with me, sorry. I kind of want to send her a curveball. I don't know, let's see what's in here. Oh my god, yes, okay. This is glow-in-the-dark pigment powder that I used for my glow-in-the-dark resin river table. I feel like she could definitely do something cool with this, but I don't know. Let's add this to the pile, but it's not a guarantee. Okay, let's go back over here. Oh, I found it. I found it. This has been in my workshop for so long and I literally have done nothing with it. It's like coral, like resin casted coral. She's gonna flip out. Danie, what would you even do with this? I don't know, but I really want to send it to you. Here's the thing. The other stuff I'm sending you, pretty straightforward. Boom, Throw some coral in there, baby. We got something going on. I think this is it. I think that's gonna be the curveball object, and I cannot wait to see what she does with it. Okay, all the items are boxed up. I also decided to send her a little gift as a peace offering. Now here's the thing. So I used the rest of the bubble wrap that I had to wrap that beautiful piece of coral. And in a normal situation, one might go to the store and get more bubble wrap, but I actually don't want to go to the store, and all I have on hand is a lot of Sour Patch Kids, because you guys know how much I love Sour Patch Kids. So, I mean, these are kind of like just delicious packaging peanuts shaped like kids. So this is what I'm gonna use. Danie, I hope you like Sour Patch Kids as much as I do. Actually, I'm gonna keep one for myself. All right, package this up. Danie, see you in a few days. Okay, I'm literally in the middle of like one of the biggest projects on my channel, but Danie's package just came. It's staring at me. I need to open it. I am so nervous to see what's in this box. I mean, it can't be worse than coral, right? To Sam, read this first. Dear Sam, the remainder of this letter must be read in a Long Island accent. Long Island. Beyond the items I have given you to DIY with, I enclose a few items that I felt you needed in your life to truly experience the Canadian culture. Oh, Canada, here we come. Item 1. Are they numbered? Smarties. Is that Boston? We say all. Smarties. Smarties. I can't do this in Long Island accent. Smarties, of course, because you're a smarty pants. I believe you call them rockets. But did you know every Smartie you eat makes you legit smarter? Give me all the Smarties. And these, candy-coated milk chocolate. My goodness, okay. Item 2 is a Mars bar. You might have the Milky Way bar, but it's just not the same. Also, with all the hype around Mars right now, we could all use a little of its gooey caramel right now. I'm 100% eating this right now. Yeah, no, this isn't gonna make it past this box opening, so. Item number 3. Say hello to Robert. It's my brother's name. Yes, my friend, your collection of tools is now officially complete. Enjoy your new set of Robertson screwdrivers, complete with some starter screws. Robertson is clearly the superior. LOL, probs not, but enjoy anyhow. So like, is this what Canadian screwdrivers look like? Because maybe we'll try to incorporate this into DIY depending on what the other items look like. Have fun with these DIY items. I chose very unique things, some outside your comfort zone. I know you will do something magical with them. You are thebomb.com. She drew a little bomb. Amazing. Thank you for being my DIY buddy, your friend from the Great White North, Danie. I feel like I need to frame this forever. Before I say thank you, I'm gonna check out what's in this box. I'm really nervous about it. This is very heavy and it's borderline concerning. I don't even know. I already see fabric. This is blue velvet fabric. Sure. I don't even know where to begin. Item 1. Okay. Wait a minute. These Smarties are different than the Smarties we have here. The Smarties that we have here are like sugar-coated candy deliciousness that are just like straight up popping sugar pills. All right. It looks like a steering wheel. What is this? My first DIY project is figuring out how to open this package that Danie just sent me. Ooh, this is very cool. It is a round picture frame. I feel like I already know what I want to do with this, but I don't know if it's logistically possible. We will see. Number 3 does not look promising, and it says, take a seat. I can already think I know what this is. I can already tell you I'm not stoked on it. What am I supposed to do with a bicycle seat? Wow, okay. It has my initials on it. This is like actually really sweet. Danie, did you buy a bike seat with my initials on it? You were like, you know what, this bike seat reminds me of Sam. So I'm just gonna buy it because, thank you. I've never been so flattered in my entire life. I almost feel bad about sending her coral, but after seeing this bike seat, I definitely don't feel bad about sending Danie coral. All right, now it's time to brainstorm. This will give me some things to think about for the next couple days. All right, well, I guess wish me and the Smarties and the Mars bar good luck on this one. Before we get started flipping these thrifted items, let's cover some ground rules. So first and foremost, all of the items that we send to each other must be from our homes or our shops, so we'll check that one off. Every item or material in the box must be used. Items can be used to create several flips. They do not need to be used on one solid project, and we are allowed to use extra materials to make these projects come to life. Okay, so about to go into the craft store. It's been a while since I've been into a craft store, and I feel like things are about to get really weird with these projects, but we're just gonna embrace it. So I'm gonna head in there, we're gonna make this a quick trip, gonna get everything that we need, we're gonna get out. I feel like those are famous last words. Let's do this. Okay, I went in for like 3 things and left with 16, so can't tell if that was a success or a failure, but I feel like I got everything I needed to make these projects happen, so let's see what happens. All right, friends, so let's get started on these projects, starting with this awesome frame that Danie sent me. As soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. Longest story short, this frame reminded me of a ship window, and I had poured some ocean cutting boards the other day, and some of that runoff from the resin made these really cool translucent sheets that I thought might look really awesome as some sort of lamp window situation, so that's what I decided to make. Honestly, the hardest part of this project was figuring out how to make a mold for the resin pour so that it would fit perfectly inside of the frame. I actually got these super thin strips of wood from the craft store, but they weren't bendy enough to be able to make a circle formation. So I decided to use some water and to make them kind of damp, and then I was able to really get them to bend in the way that I needed to. Essentially, the goal was to just mimic that exact shape and size of the circle that was on the inside of the frame, because the idea is I'm going to pour this resin on top of a sheet and then it will cure and then it will fit perfectly in the frame without me having to do anything fancy to fit it later. Now, I work with resin a lot on my channel. It is one of my favorite materials to work with, but if you're new to resin, one of the things that's important to know is that resin actually will stick to wood. So what I had done here was, after figuring out the shape that I needed, I taped all of my pieces together and then lined the entire circle using packaging tape as well, because the resin won't stick to this later. The other thing that I did want to note is that that white sheet that you see underneath my workpiece right now, that's where I'm going to be pouring my resin. That is a reusable resin mold, and when I pour the resin on it, it doesn't stick to that. If you don't have a reusable resin mold, you could use a silicone cake mat, you can use melamine board covered in packaging tape. I do have a couple of different tutorials on my channel if you're interested, and I will link them below this video so you can check out how to make a project just like this one if you don't have a reusable mold. But all of that to say, at this point, I basically just hot glued this mold that I made to that reusable sheet, and then I cleaned up the inside to get ready for my resin pour. For this project, I used a 2-part tabletop epoxy resin, which I actually use a lot on my channel. I really like this product, and I mixed them up into cups based on the ratios that I needed on the bottles, and then mixed them all together to create my resin mix. And like I mentioned earlier, the frame that I was using for some reason reminded me of a super old ship window, so I wanted to go with some really cool ocean colors. So I mixed up a couple of colors that I really liked, and then it was time to get started with the pour, which really had no method to my madness. I kind of just poured random colors into this mold that I made until I was happy with what I was seeing. I also alternated between mixing the colors together and using my heat gun to blow them around, and then also plugged up some of the leaks that I had in the mold, because let's be real, I've never tried this before and it definitely wasn't perfect. But in the end, I was super happy with the way this turned out, and once I was happy, I left it to dry overnight. Okay, let's see what we're working with here. I'm so nervous to take this thing apart. Okay, so I think the only thing that I was nervous about here was that the piece wasn't going to dry as translucent as I wanted it to in my head, because the reality is that this thing popped away from the mold beautifully, and I was able to cut away that round mold piece as well, like super easily. That packaging tape was the real MVP of this project. The only issue was that after a day of curing, this thing was still not completely hard. So it definitely needs like probably a couple more hours to cure, because it is still very like bendy, and I want it to dry like glass. We're just gonna let that cure for a little longer. Cool. And just as I suspected, it actually cured really beautifully the next day, and pretty much all that was left was to clean up all of the rough edges, which is what I did using my Dremel. Now that the resin was complete, the next step was to prep the frame. Honestly, I really love this frame the way it is, so I just removed the stickers by applying some heat and then wiping them away using a wet cloth, and then it was time to fit that resin panel in the frame. Luckily, my obsessive measuring at the beginning of this project totally paid off because the panel fit perfectly within the frame, and all I really had to do was just hot glue it into place. I really wanted this art piece to be more of like a really cool light fixture, so I decided to add some adhesive LED strip lighting to the back that was attached to a battery pack. This is awesome because it sticks on using a peel and stick adhesive, and you can also trim it to the exact size that you need just using scissors. And so that's exactly what I did. I trimmed the strip down to size. I then applied it to the back of the frame, and there were a couple of pieces that weren't sticking as well as I wanted to, so I just added some packaging tape to the back as well, and that worked perfectly. At this point, all that was left was to add some batteries, and those lights were in action. Okay, I literally just went to go remove these and realized I can't, except I can, because Danie sent me these handy dandy new screwdrivers. So I just gotta figure out what size. Oh, one and done. Boom. All right, now we can hang. Part of me feels like I cheated on this project a little bit because I didn't reinvent the frame, but I actually really like how this project turned out. It's kind of a really awesome abstract looking art piece that I now can have hanging on the wall and I can use as a light fixture. And yeah, I actually think it's pretty cool. But now that I have tackled item number 1 from Danie's box, it is time to move on to item number 2. And before we get started on this project, welcome to the Hot Mess Express. Whoa. 5-second rule. That was definitely more than 5 seconds. I'm not gonna lie, this is what my time alone in the shop tends to look like, more often than none. But anyway, alright, let's talk about this build. So once I saw this velvet fabric, I absolutely knew that I wanted to make an upholstered bench with it. So I got started by cutting all of the pieces that I needed for the bench. I first started with some 2x2s that I cut into 4 legs and then tapered on my table saw, but that part is totally optional if you don't have a tapering jig. I then moved on to some 1x2 pieces that I cut for the frame of the bench, and then I drilled pocket holes in those frame pieces to start assembling everything together. To make life easier though, I do have a full cut list for this project on my website, as well as a step-by-step and a materials list, so if you're interested in building something like this, definitely go check that out. I have linked that below this video in the video description. So as you can see, I just added the frames to the legs using these pocket holes, and once I had a fully assembled frame that I was pretty excited about, I then decided to add a bunch of supports. I added a couple of supports upright, and then I added a couple of them flat, and the reason I did this is because I'm going to be adding the top of the bench to this frame of the bench later using wood screws through those flat supports. I then tested the strength of this bench by naturally sitting on it. Once I was done building the entirety of that bottom of the bench, I then stained everything, allowed that to dry, and then also gave the entire bench a couple of coats of spray-on polyurethane. I then allowed that entire bench to dry overnight, and the next day it was time to move on to creating the cushion. To get started on this part of the project, I cut a 3/4 inch piece of plywood down to size, which was a much smoother process than the actual trip to pick up the foam for this project was at the craft store a couple days before. Now I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that the piece of foam that I chose was too short for the backer that I cut. However, the good news is that I was able to have enough material left over to cut this into 2 separate pieces. Now, the woman at the craft store told me that I could use a turkey cutter to cut this foam, but I don't have a turkey cutter, so I actually started the cut with my jigsaw and then I finished off the cut using a blade. I then sprayed that piece of 3/4 inch plywood as well as the foam using a spray adhesive, and then I placed that foam on top of the board and allowed everything to cure together nicely. So I've only ever upholstered something once, and that project is on my channel from years ago, but one thing I remembered is that using some quilting batting helps to just like even everything out and hide any of the seams, so I attached that to the plywood and to the foam using a stapler. And then it was time to move on to that gorgeous velvet fabric, which I know absolutely nothing about working with. Am I supposed to iron this before I do this? Are you supposed to iron velvet fabric? Let's see what Google has to say about this. Can you iron velvet? The most important thing that you should know about velvet is that you should never iron it. How do you get wrinkles out of velvet? Oh, that was the next question. I found an iron that has steaming capabilities. I feel like that's probably good enough. Let's warm this puppy up. Guys, what did we do without Google? Before Google existed, what did people do? I don't know. But basically what I found out is that you cannot iron velvet, but you can steam it. So I used an iron with steaming capabilities to steam the wrinkles out of the velvet. I then flipped everything on over and began to staple the fabric to the backer board using my staple gun. And this was pretty straightforward until I got to the corners, which definitely gave me a run for my money. Okay, here's where things are about to get interesting. I have no idea how to do this corner. Okay, the only time I've ever done this was with fabric that was like really forgiving. This sack fabric doesn't seem so forgiving. All right, so I'm gonna, I guess, pull that first. If I pull this way, pull it down like that. This is tough. It's pretty impressive how long it actually took me to just do this one corner. I don't know what I ended up doing. I guess I just pretended like I was wrapping a giant fuzzy present and just wrapped the corners the same way. I do feel like I have to up my corner fabric making game at some point, but that'll come with practice, right? Oh, it actually looks really good. Why am I so surprised? Okay, so as if this project wasn't feeling complicated enough, I decided last minute that it looked way too plain and I wanted to add some tufting. However, I already closed everything up, so I decided to use my really good friend Alicia's trick for no-sew tufting, where she uses a washer and screws and makes her own custom buttons. Yeah, you guys, I made my own custom buttons, by the way. Who am I? But anyway, definitely check out her video on how to do this. She breaks it down so beautifully. I have linked it below this video in the video description. It was seriously so helpful, and it took me like absolutely no time to get the pleating into place. In fact, it was so quick and easy that very shortly after I was able to attach the cushion to the bench using some pre-drilled countersunk screws. And yeah, after one weekend of work, I had this seriously gorgeous bench that I would have never made if it wasn't for Danie sending me some blue velvet fabric. So thank you, Danie. I'm actually really happy with the way this turned out. Oh, but friends, don't get too excited yet because, spoiler alert, things are about to get real weird with item number 3. I literally don't even know where to start with this project except for maybe the inspiration for it because it is so strange, but hear me out. So, my other half, he's a cyclist. When we moved into our apartment, we were looking for creative ways to hang his bike as well as his cycling accessories, and I found this really odd looking bike seat taxidermy thing on Wayfair that kind of piqued my interest. So when I saw this bike seat that Danie sent me, I was like, why not make something like this happen, right? Because like totally normal. Now, to put things into perspective, I only had about a week to plan out this project, and I do have a full-time job, so the only handlebars that I was actually able to source for this were not deep enough to actually hold his bike, but it ended up working out okay anyway. We'll get there when we get there. First, I guess let's talk about my process for making my own bike seat taxidermy. Also, the weirdest name for this thing. So to get started on this project, I removed any of the bulkier items from the back of the bike seat, and then I basically just secured anything that was loose using hot glue. I then used a clamp that I found in the plumbing aisle and secured it around the handlebar and screwed that directly into the bike seat. I also secured that in place so that it wouldn't wiggle or move around once this thing was mounted on the wall. At this point, I decided that those two stem-looking things sticking up were way too long, so I cut them down using my Dremel and a cutting bit, and then I just used a drill to pre-drill some holes into those stems so that I could attach them to the backer later using screws. I then moved on to cutting the backer for my cool little art piece using 3/4 inch plywood and a bucket to trace a circle. I then cut that circle out using my jigsaw. In full disclosure here, it was like a day or two later after this project, I was at the home improvement store and found a really, really nice pre-cut circle backer. So I did end up using that instead. But in case you want to try a project like this in your home, you can cut out a backer just like this one using a jigsaw. I then measured out where I needed to add the screws in order to attach the bike seat to the backer, and I pre-drilled some super long screws into that backer and then right on into those stems that I pre-drilled earlier in the process. Shockingly, those two screws were actually able to hold up the entire thing, and it was starting to look mighty fine, if I might say so myself. At this point, all that was left was to add a hook to the back of the board and then hang it on my wall. I am pretty sure that I can confidently say this is the weirdest thing I've ever made on my channel, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of digging it. Also, can we please point out the irony in the fact that my channel name is DIY Huntress and I just made some DIY bike seat taxidermy because can't make it up, friends. And at this point, all that was left was to show Danie all of these awesome creations that I made using the stuff that she sent me from her home. Hello!
A lovely face to see. How are you, darling?
How are you? Looking good.
Just fab. Thank you.
Is the quality okay? Am I looking all right?
You look fantastic as always.
As do you.
Okay.
I'm so excited to see what you turned my items into, and I'm so nervous to show you what I turned your items into.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Shot not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm obsessed. Like you like honestly crushed it. I'm like so nervous to show you my stuff now.
Stop it. I'm so excited. Okay.
Okay, so also when you sent me the bike seat, when I took it out of the box, I was like, coral's nothing. I don't feel bad about the coral at all. You're welcome, Danie. Okay, so what do you want to see first?
Let's see the picture frame. Let's leave the bike seat to last. Now I'm so excited.
You know how much I love epoxy resin, right?
I do know that you love epoxy resin.
So I decided to experiment with epoxy resin, and I poured this clear resin ocean guy that will light up at night. I literally have 3 different lights on right now. Wait, let me see. Let me shut a whole bunch. Let's see.
Your mind was blown? Your mind was blown?
Let's see if this works better.
Obsessed.
Okay,
I'm like already blown away. So like, what more can you show me right now? Continue.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you the fabric, but it's gonna take some maneuvering of my computer. So close your eyes and don't look.
I'm so excited.
Works. I didn't practice this choreography before we met today. All right, open your eyes.
It's stunning. Also, I really love the modeling, that Vanna White moment. Yeah, loved that for you. Oh my God. You know what? The blue is stunning. Jaw on the floor. Like, I mean, did you have that bench already?
No, I made this.
Of course you did. Why did I even ask? I'm just like, your skills, just next level. I was already like taken by the photo frame, epoxy shipwreck nightlight.
Ooh, I like that. Epoxy shipwreck sheet.
All right, show me item number 3.
So I'm not quite sure that anyone is ready for item number 3.
I'm never going to be ready, but you know what? There's no time like the present, so.
Ready? Okay, so.
Oh my God, please walk me through this. Okay, you literally took this in a completely different direction and I'm here.
I'm literally crying. Okay, so hear me out. As you know, my dude, he's a cyclist, right? So living in a small apartment, we've had to figure out creative ways to store his stuff for his bikes. So he has a whole bunch of these cycling caps. So now when they dry after we wash them, they're going up on the bike seat taxidermy.
Please tell me he saw that and he was like, what is that?
Not only did he see this, I texted him and I was like, so by any chance, do you have any handlebars laying around? Because I need them for something super important.
I was not ready for this. Like, not even in a million years would I have literally thought of bicycle taxidermy. Like, literally have heartburn.
Thank you for the bike seat. Okay, so now that you all saw my items, it's time to see Danie's items. But to do that, you have to head over to her video. Is that how we're doing it, right? Okay. Yes, head over to her video, check out what she made with all of the stuff that I sent her. Yes, including that weird piece of coral. Sorry, Danie. And like I mentioned earlier in my video, if you don't know Danie, you gotta know Danie. She's like literally the best. So please go subscribe to her, go check out her video, go give her love, because Danie, you're just awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you, love. And I love you. I love your channel and I love everything you do.
Oh, and I love you and I like binge watch your videos and I'm obsessed with you. So like, really just everyone's gonna witness a love fest for this.
I know, it's as always.
I seriously had so much fun creating these items, and I can confidently say I would have never made any of these projects if it wasn't for this collaboration with Danie. So I am super grateful for Danie for asking me to do this fun thrift flip challenge with her. I know I said it before, but I just have so much love for Danie. She has been a huge source of inspiration for me this year, and she has been such an awesome friend. Please go check out her channel if you have not already. This was an awesome and fun project that gave me a little break from some of the bigger things that I have been working on. In fact, I have a ton of really awesome projects coming to the channel very soon, so please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I cannot wait to share these projects with you. In the meantime, friends, as always, thank you so much for watching my video and for being so awesome. I cannot wait to share more with you in the very near future. But until then, friends, happy DIYing.